Good morning. So we are doing the SBE training. Hopefully everyone can see the screen on this PowerPoint about engineering, construction, bid, and project process. Kind of breaking down the different steps as we're going along the program. So when it comes to engineering bid projects, these are listed actually on the website, which hopefully if this works, it'll open up the website for you guys. Bear with me. Try this a few times. So when you go to engineering's website, they have a construction bid listing. As you scroll down, they actually have all the bid opening dates. As you can see, these links will open up the proposals, the drawings, the specification books. It has a link to when the next meeting will be held, as well as if there's an SBE goal and a pre-qualification for those prime contractors. And towards the top, it talks a little bit more about the pre-qualifications and how you can get on the pre-qualification, submit your application to the engineering department. If you have any other questions on that, please let us know. If not, we'll go ahead and continue on. I'll go back to the slide here. See if it'll go back. So as you can see, there are links to everything, addendas, revisions, spec books, the plans, the goal, and then if there's any pre-qualification indicated for each of those projects. Basically did a screenshot in case that website was not going to work for us, which I'm glad it did. Okay, so the next step would be a pre-bid project meeting. As you can see on those virtual links, you would go to the link on the website of those projects that you're interested in. This is important because if you are an SBE contractor, you would like to participate in the project, please attend that meeting. During that meeting, the engineers and architects discuss the project and the important dates of that project. They'll discuss if there's any addenda or revisions to that project. All the attendees will share their information on the right now they're virtual meetings, and that list is sent out to all the attendees. And it's important to know that only qualified contractors who attend that pre-bid can submit a bid for that project as a prime contractor. Once that meeting is over, that prime contractor will contact an SBE member, generally via email, with any labor supplies they need. And I believe, Anika, if I'm correct, the prime contractors pulled that information from that project spec book. Is that correct, engineering team?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Best practice is that SBE members respond to all requests. You send a quote to those labor supplies that you can participate in, or you notify that you cannot fulfill the quote, whether you're unavailable due to other jobs you picked up, or that's just not within your work scope. That prime will then, Nika, I apologize. I think this is where we were kind of coming up with some issues
Right,
here.
right.
So
That
I'm
should,
going to go ahead and skip because,
okay.
like I said, I apologize. I think I put these out of order. The prime will fill out an SBE solicitation form for every SBE member they contact, whether or not an SBE member is able to participate in that project. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that form just so you guys can see the form that they will fill out based on the conversation they had with you guys or that they were not able to. So if you look at the top, they'll go ahead and list the project information. They'll talk about the subcontractor information, about when they contacted you, whether you're an SBE member, your SBE number, and your contact information, description of work. As we go down here, if they are not able to work with you, they will put in a reason why, whether you guys were unavailable or there just wasn't a response, but that is required from the prime contractors to submit for every SBE member they reach out to, whether or not you as SBE member are able to participate in that job. That prime will also fill out the SBE utilization form that is for every SBE member that they were able to receive a quote for and able to work on that project. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that file up as well. Here they'll put the project information. They actually will list the SBE member company, the type of work they're doing. Down here, the projected dollars that they're going to do, and the projected percentage based on the project totals. And then they will go ahead and sign that and submit that with their paperwork. And Anika, did you want to jump in about the letter of intent? Because like I said, I apologize, I put that out of order.
Sure. Thank you. This is Anika Ture, Engineering Services Contract Administration. The letter of intent is a document that basically confirms that the prime contractor and the subcontractor have an agreement of the amount solicited for prior to awarding the project. It is the prime contractor's responsibility to make sure the letter of intent is submitted by the Thursday following the Friday's bid opening. So that would literally be 4 working days after that Friday's bid opening, submitting that letter of intent. The subcontractor must sign off on that letter of intent. As I said, that is our confirmation that you two companies are in agreement of that dollar amount.
I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. And like I said, I apologize, I got them out of order here. Okay, so this is the form that Anika was talking about. The project information goes at the top. The prime contractor will fill it out with the SBE member, talking about if they are an SBE member, the amount include the quote that was provided to them, and then both the prime contractor representative and the SBE representative will sign that form. And again, that's if you look at the bottom, if the form's not received, that proposed utilization will not be counted as part of the prime contractor's agreement, which is important when we have those 10% goals. We definitely want your business's work counted into the utilization for the project goal. Let's see here. Sorry, it scrolled forward here. Okay, when a project bid is awarded, Anika or Paul, if you guys would like to jump in and talk about that 10% utilization goal and the lowest bid and about how we get to that bid award.
Anika, are you going to take that or you want me to?
Go ahead, Mr. Zachary.
All right. This is Paul Zachary, I'm the Director of Engineering Services. The project bid, what we do is in the process of receiving the bid, we then have a meeting on the following Monday that we evaluate and we list out all the solicitations that were made to really define the good faith effort as it's described and defined in our bidding instructions. And if it meets the criteria that a good faith effort was made to meet that 10% SBE utilization goal, we move forward, and as we have an internal group that supports and looks at the data, and we'll either say we're going to make a recommendation for award of this based upon the lowest responsible SBE compliant contractor. One of the items that we do have in here, and as part of our program, is we realize that there are some areas and some business categories and some special skill sets that in our marketplace we cannot get 10% utilization. But what we have done is we've actually put that back into the contracting community's arena, in the fact that we may have some that across the board, out of 5 bidders, we may have 3, 5, 4, 6%. And what that gives us is an indication of that is what the market and what the availability and capability of our SBEs are. So we do look at that. Our goal is 10%, and I will say that a lot of our horizontal construction, street construction, etc., we do have SBE firms that can provide, and very rarely do we get below 10% unless there's a specialty issue we're able to get that because we do have SBE firms out there that can provide the services required. So our 10% SBE utilization goal is it's aspirational, and we realize that it is maybe not available in all categories, and we have the ability to just evaluate the good faith efforts. So those solicitation forms that we talked about just earlier are very, very key in the evaluation of the 10% goal. We are looking, we focus and look at the 10% goal, but our main issue, was there a good faith effort, and were they each one evaluated accordingly? So we take it very seriously, and we've had several that we have deemed non-responsive due to a lack of good faith effort in going through that. So it's very important in the instructions to please go through what is defined as a good faith effort. And if you have any questions about specifically, I called one person, but then your competitors called 2 or 3 and they were able to get the 10%, the chances are, even if you're low bidder at the prime, they're not going to be able to. There's a whole lot more to that, and we can go more into that, but we do take the review on the side of services.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it. I know there's different circumstances, so that's why I just kind of did a more of a generic that we do try to typically award to the lowest bidder. But like you said, there's different projects that may not be able to meet that 10%. So I appreciate that. I realize that I skipped over the affidavit. I'm going to go back one slide. Anika or Paul, could you explain about that affidavit right here that the prime contractor will submit with their bid package?
Anika, why don't you cover that one?
Got it. Okay, so this affidavit basically is what it states, that this is it is in the it is compliance, that these documents are to be filled out, and that the prime has. Can you scroll down on that for me, Rachel, please? I was trying to see here. Yeah, so it's like any other affidavit. It's basically what needs to be filled out by the prime, and that they are basically agreeing and complying to our instructions that are presented in our contract books or our bid books by submitting those documents that are requested. The SBE page 2, 3, 4, 5. Originally, it starts with this record solicitation, which is the SBE 2 page. So it's as any other affidavit. This is just saying that he's in compliance with what we're requesting for our SBE participation in our capital improvement projects. It is a must to be filled out. It is a must to be submitted with your bid book.
Okay, appreciate it. And if you see kind of the wording, Paul mentioned that good faith effort, that's important on there, because we want that affidavit submitted with their bid package that they did make that good faith effort in their solicitation to those SBE members. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Anika. Okay, we're going to go over just briefly about change forms if they're applicable. I believe this should pull up a blank change form. This form is submitted if a project scope of work changes, whether that increases or decreases the use of an SBE member. That prime will reach out to the SBE member, and here it talks about that change in service to be performed, and then the reason for the change. It's important that those prime members explain why that change is being requested. It is signed by the SBE and the prime contractor, but also has to be approved by the contract admin engineering services and someone in the SBE program before that prime member can actually get a new letter of intent and a record of solicitation for that SBE member's change. Also, a SBE company may not be available once a project begins, so it is the prime's responsibility to locate another SBE member to fulfill that work, or they locate multiple members to maintain that original utilization goal, because again, that goal is at 10%, and that's still stressed throughout the program. Typically, if you've been able to look at our 2018 utilization report and memo, most of our projects have actually increased from the 10%, and by the final payment, they went up maybe 10% to 14% or 10% to 12%. But any changes, whether it's an increase or decrease, those prime contractors do have to submit these change request forms.
May I add on to that, Rachel? Also, with these change request forms, we first must be into an executed contract before any changes can take place, and then we can move forward. Our prime's responsibility, as mentioned, as Rachel just mentioned, is to let the subcontractor know of the changes. If it's a decrease, we ask for the subcontractor to sign off on this. However, there has been cases if a subcontractor can't be reached or may not be in agreement, we still have to proceed forward, but we ask our prime to submit documentation of the attempt to have the subcontractor to agree with the decrease if that's the case. We can go into that further as that situation arises. Just stay in contact with myself or a SBE officer if we have to address that situation. But a change request can only be submitted once we are into an executed contract. Then we can go with some changes there.
Okay.
That's all I have, Rachel.
I appreciate that. Know that is more in your wheelhouse since you are the one that also has to approve those. Okay, so once that project is completed, obviously the city will complete the project inspections. That prime contractor will submit all their final paperwork, including any change order forms, any updated letters of intent, and the final utilization form. And I apologize, I believe this final utilization form is from a project that actually finaled out. I believe so. If you can see on that project, there's the project information. It talks about there's the SBE members with the projected dollars, and then they did have some change forms, and so there's the actual dollars of that change. You can see it went from 14% to 18%, but the contractors have signed the projected, and then at the end of the project, they sign that final, and that is submitted with all their paperwork and their invoices to have the request for that final payment. Just a reminder, when it comes to payments, the city pays a prime contractor. It is the prime contractor that pays that SBE contractor and not us directly.
Rachel, can I jump in again?
Yes.
Ryan, could you please explain, Mr. Ryan McCaskill, you're here. Could you please explain to our participants of if any changes during construction are to be made, when those changes should be submitted?
The changes should be submitted with each pay app or notification as soon as you know that a change is going to occur. If for some reason there is a sub that cannot fulfill the job, if they are busy or tied up on another job, and the intent is to change, we need to get that change request notified prior to doing any of the work. And then update and notify letter of intent with each pay app.
Thank you. So all that to be said, we're asking for these change request forms to be finalized prior to the final SBE utilization form. That's all I have, Rachel.
Okay, thank you. that's pretty much the end of our presentation. There are SB contact information from our engineering services and for the Mayor's Office of Economic Development. Our email addresses are here. I believe we've also added them to the chat page as well. Does anyone have any questions from our participants today? Okay. Josh asked if we are offering a session like this for design. Someone in engineering services, would you guys be able to answer that?
One of the things that's a little bit different for the design is with each of the contractors, in this case, be it an architect or an engineer, we get to negotiate. Those things are negotiated, and we pretty much just give an instruction that you're going to have those deals. So yes, each one of our, what I'm going to call a prime consultant, is given the instructions, and they go over that, and we're able to go back and forth. The issue with the bid or the instructions to bidders, the contractors are kind of on their own, and then once they submit it, that can't change, if that makes sense. Bid day, once our documents are submitted, and maybe this just needs to be a point, once a bid is submitted, the prime contractor cannot change, or once he sees that he's a low bid, has submitted a low bid, then go back and chase and go get the SBEs. All these SBE documents and all those declarations of their use, they cannot be modified once they submit. So there's kind of a hard date, and they're kind of doing it on their own. It's more of their responsibility to go after it. So on the consultant side, and I'm just going to say for an example, if a designer comes back in and they come back in with 2 or 3%, I can tell you that every project manager in engineering services is going to send them back out, and we're going to continue to go after it until we get 10%. There are situations where we cannot get to the 10%, and this is a long answer to the question, but basically we do one-on-one discussions with all our consultants. We go through this with every letters of interest, statement of qualifications that we send out. We talk about the SBE utilization and the instructions if they fully understand it and want to know their plan. And actually in the selection of the consultants, it's part of the criteria that we give points to is their understanding and their commitment to the SBE program. But as we negotiate each agreement with the consultants, it's a one-on-one type deal. So we don't have a broad training as much as like this but they do have the same forms. We have the solicitation forms, we have the change forms, all the forms are identical, but it really is more of a one-on-one type arrangement. And one of the items on there, and Anik, I don't know that I did not see that in here. We have what we call a TUL 9280 form for our design consultants. That's architects, engineers, planners, etc. We maintain that list, and whenever we send out letters of interest, statement of qualifications, that goes out to everybody on that list. Even if we're doing vertical construction, say we're advertising for the design of a fire station, we still let all our civils know, we let every surveyor, every geotech, all disciplines, and you can be on that list for free. That distribution, all you do is submit it, and we will update it periodically. But that way you can be made aware when we're sending out a letter of interest, statement of qualifications, and requesting professional services for those folks to submit their interest in being in that project. So it's been very good for us in that some of the SBE designers, they're all aware when a project hits the street, and then they can then go contact and be proactive in addressing the primes as well. So that is one way, and we can have that on there. If you want to contact Anika or myself, we can get you the website for how to get the TUL 9280 form on the side of the professional services. And we would welcome having more folks on that list as well, and it would be an advantage from that standpoint is that you would know beforehand, before any consultant is selected to do work for the city, that you know that who all that might be looking for your services. So it would also provide a marketing and a network opportunity for you.
I appreciate that, Paul. We have another question from Katie. Said are all AE RFQs posted publicly?
Yes, they're on our website.
That's what I thought. We have another message from Angela. What is the time frame from bid opening to confirmation of award or intent to award to prime contractor?
Anika, are you going to do that one?
Yes, sir. The intent from bid opening to award is 30 days. The intent from award to executed contract is 30 to 60 days. We do our best to get those things through the system as far as routed for signatures and everything during that time frame. May I make a side note? However, due to our coronavirus situation and working time frames and such, it's a little bit of a new time and different time, but that is our intent. We're working diligently to still stay within that time frame.
Okay, are there any other questions? If you guys have any other questions, feel free to add to the chat. We'll keep that open for a few more minutes. And if you do have further questions, feel free to reach out to Anika if you have questions specifically about the process of the contracts. If you have a question about SBE program or updates or when our next training event is, please reach out to the SBE at cityoftulsa.org. But we'll keep this open just for a few minutes if there's anyone else who wants to type in their question, or they can unmute themselves and ask the question as well. Paul or Anika, is there anything else you guys would like to add onto this presentation? We'll make a couple changes before we post the actual presentation up on the website. But yeah, if you guys have any other thoughts or input you'd like to add into this, Paul or Anika, we'd appreciate it.
This is Paul. I think we have been working very hard on getting this, the SBE program working within the capital program, the capital projects, and we are greatly in need of getting more SBE folks and contractors across the board in all categories onboarding. As we get into our CM contracting opportunities, we're still doing the same item. We have our primes or the CMs, and we want these subcontracting done. It provides a lot of direct bidding services as well as subcontracting type work. We need to get the word out, and we need to grow our list. That's been our biggest challenge over the last couple of years, is the lack of SBE participants. In that way, I mean, right now, to their good, it's an isolated. They get a lot of work goes to several firms, and there are some top performers that get repeat business, but that comes from being in the marketplace and getting the prime contractors aware of your firm. It should not be, this program is not just one where you sit and wait to be contacted by somebody, but with the way that Anika's got the pre-bids and the way we have them set up as mandatory, you're not having to try to contact 225 different contractors. For each project and every project, you have a narrowed list from 5 to 6 folks that may be plan holders, and it really makes it for direct marketing and direct networking opportunities can be done through that. So please take advantage of following the pre-bid notifications, and that will give you you can reach out, and these folks need to get their 10%, so you can make that easier for them. And if you make that easier for them, then your relationship gets built, and the chances are that you can grow within the SBE program. So please do not wait to be contacted. Please be proactive about this. And if you do have other firms that you know of, or firms that you work alongside with, please encourage them, if they are SBE capable and they meet the criteria, please encourage them to sign up and become a member of the SBE program.
Appreciate that, Paul. And we have had a couple of people, I think, that joined that have not had a chance to add their information to the contact in the chat. Put your name, business name, and email address. That way, if you have any questions, we can reach out to you. Angela had asked if there is someone with SBE. Yes, Angela, if you see on our contacts, Clay Hulk and I are with the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, and he's managing, and I'm working on the administrative part of the SBE program. We have LaKendra Carter from Mayor's Office of Resilience and Equity. She is working with us on the SBE program as well. So I believe I sent a message, Angela, if you will please leave your email address and or phone number, and I will go ahead and reach out to you after the meeting, and we can talk about the SBE application process. If anyone is interested, they're just welcome to go to our email. Our website is cityofTulsa.org/SBE, and that has our information about our program, our application details, talks about the utilization reports and the survey that Clay mentioned, as well as the current availability list that engineering provides us. So if you have any other questions, just feel free to reach out. But I appreciate you guys all for attending this meeting. And like I said, reach out to us via our emails if you have any questions. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.